All right, guys, the wind should be calm enough with my noise canceling mic, but I saw a video that Garret Garret Win did on his Do It DIY, doing one of his little shorts. It was about how to get a dog off the bite, and so he's talking to two dogs who got in a fight. He showed the clip, and well, the one thing that most people don't really clarify is how to get the dog off the bite. Now, keep in mind, there's 1,001 scenarios where the dog's biting, the other dog gets in the fight. You don't want to get your hands in the middle of a fight and get bit, but you can. There's one little trick called the wheelbarrow. That's not going to put you in a position you can really get the dog off the bite, but it's something that's used when you have two people picking up by the back legs and then kind of stretching them away from it. But that's not really going to get a real strong dog like he shows in that clip off the bite. So when you've got a real strong dog and law enforcement has taught this, they call it a hard out. A lot of people get all upset because the law enforcement doesn't have a clean out like we do in sport. But reality and truth, when it's the heat of the battle on the street and you've got adrenaline going and fear and drugs and everything coming from the suspect, that dog is doing his job on the street. It's a totally different thing. So the public can get all upset and mad because they should have more control over it. It's full of shit, okay? Reality and truth is you've got to be able to control the situation when the dog's in the heat of battle, and the dog is an animal. He's a canine that's been taught how to do the job. Bruno, no. Come here. I don't know if I can do this or not. Stop. Stop. Good. Good. Stop. Good. I'm just teaching him stand now. So, all right. Make sure stop. Blibe. Good. Blibe. Trying to teach him how to do this. Okay. So the biggest thing, again, remember there's 1,001 places the dog's going to be with. The video he showed was perfect. The two dogs' heads were in battle. So you have two heads. Blah. It's not going to be easy with me trying to wave at you and everything. Come here. Up. Plots. Blibe. So you have two dogs in battle, both their heads were in the middle of it, right? You got to worry about putting your hands in the middle of that or letting a dog come off the bite and he's in the middle of the battle, so he'll come off the bite and rebite. And there's your problem. But in that situation with that real strong pity that he had, it's really easy to do it. The owner could have walked up behind him and straddled him like I'm going to show you now. Good. Stop. Stop. Good. Stop. Good. Stop. Blibe. So, blibe. So you come up behind the dog, stop. Good. And you straddle him like you're on a bike, okay? And you come up to his head and you grab, I said stop, didn't I? That's it, stop. Good. Now high drive, check shepherd. It gets a little tough sometimes. Okay, so you come up and you put your hands on the collar, one side here underneath and the other side here on the other side. And now you've got control of the head and your body is here. So you've got control of the dog's head when he comes off that bite. It's important to understand that when he comes off that bite, he's going to want to rebite. So when they have a law enforcement situation, they can't suffer a rebite because there's litigation involved, right? So they're going to have one hand here on this side, and then you twist, okay? So that you take the dog's air away from him and you twist and you keep it strong until the dog doesn't have a choice but to let go because he can't breathe. Now you've got the dog's head. So you're in control of him and you take him away from the situation. Now, all that being said, you have a very dynamic, fluid situation. If you only have one of you, how are you going to control the other dog from coming off and going back and rebiting in the bite? So I got Buddy and Joker hate each other. And every now and then I'll forget one's out or whatever, and I'll have a fight. And when I have a fight, it's hell for me because I'm trying to control this whole situation with two dogs and all that in between, the chaos, right? I don't have one person on one side, one person on the other, where you have more of a controlled situation that you can deal with, right? So you need the other person's help. If that guy would have twisted his dog and did the hard out, like I said, put your hands in that collar on both sides and then twist nice and tight, take the wind away from the dog so he can't breathe, okay? And then, go on, you basically keep the dog in control because he's in between your legs. And then you take the dog away from the bite. Well, if you do that in the middle of a fight and the other dog has no control, that other dog's going to come right back in on your dog. So that's where it gets a little dicey, right? You need people that understand what they're doing and trying to stay calm and get to a point where you can communicate what your other people need to do when you have a situation like that. And Garret was right. Both people were in the wrong. One person wasn't on a collar and the other guy's an asshole sitting there filming it, right? Totally wrong, right? But bottom line is that if more people understood how to deal with situations like this, they would be able to contain the situation and not have such a dramatic outcome, right? Because a lot of times people get bit and it's not easy. You get bit in the hand, there's all kinds of nerves in this hand. It does not feel good, and it's not what you want to have happen, right? So being safe and being calm, and a lot of dog fights are a lot of noise. Males are there's all kinds of noise that freaks you out, and then you have the panic coming from the person. You can't panic. You got to think, right? Keep your cool. Walk through it very methodically. Think it through. What are you going to do to get these dogs out of this fight? Okay, and try not to panic, right? You hear all these women screaming, yelling, and all they're doing is pitching everybody up, right? And now you've got a panic chaos situation that makes it worse, not better. You got to keep your calm, keep your head in the right place, right? You know, what I call, and remember I told you about mind in the middle, right? Where's that saying come from? The horse industry. Keep your mind in the middle when you're on the saddle, because if that that horse is a little raunchy, you may end up on your ass, right? But if you keep your concentration and you're real methodical about what you're doing, you're going to be able to stay in the saddle and be able to control the animal and do what you got to do, right? All right. And he just got out of a crate. He's all wound up like an 8-day clock. So, all right, that's about it, guys. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training, signing off. And I'm sure Garret will probably do another one on this one. Talk to you later.